The Awakening. Zenthar, youngest of the elder gods, drifted through the cosmic void when the first disturbance rippled through their consciousness. Something was wrong. The familiar pulse of power that flowed from their sleeping ancestors, the Ancient Ones, had changed. It felt redirected. The young deity materialized near Earth's solar system, their form a swirling mass of stellar energy and dark matter. Humanity's realm had always been off-limits for direct intervention, a cosmic experiment left to develop on its own. But now something had changed. Zenthar's consciousness expanded, probing the space around Earth, and what they discovered sent shockwaves through their divine essence. The humans had built something impossible, a network of orbital stations that pulsed with familiar energy, ancient energy, the same kind that flowed through Zenthar's own being. Impossible, Zenthar whispered into the void, their thoughts creating ripples in space-time. They moved closer, careful to remain hidden behind Saturn's rings. The orbital stations were elegant crystalline structures that seemed to breathe with stolen divinity. Each one was positioned precisely to form a perfect geometric pattern around Earth, a cosmic web that somehow tapped directly into the dream essence of the sleeping Ancient Ones. The humans had found them. Somehow, these brief, fragile beings had located the resting places of the first gods, the ones who had dreamed reality into existence and now slumbered in the spaces between dimensions. Not only had they found them, but they had also created technology to harvest their infinite energy. Zenthar watched in horror as tendrils of pure cosmic power flowed from distant points in space, places that should have been impossible for mortals to perceive, let alone reach, directly into humanity's collection grid. The energy was being converted, refined, and channeled down to Earth in a controlled manner that defied all divine understanding. The young god's first instinct was to destroy the entire system. One thought could shatter these presumptuous constructions, yet something held them back. Curiosity, perhaps, or a deeper wisdom inherited from their own creators. Instead, Zenthar reached out with their consciousness, trying to understand how these machines worked. The moment they touched the energy field, alarms blazed across Earth's orbital defense network. Humans had detected their divine presence, but rather than panic or flee, the mortal operators of the system responded with practiced precision. The energy grid shifted, adapted, and suddenly Zenthar found their conscious probe contained and analyzed by technology that shouldn't exist. Attention, unknown entity, a transmission burst across multiple dimensions, carried by waves of modified ancient energy. You have entered monitored space. Please identify yourself. Zenthar recoiled, not from fear, but shock. The humans were speaking to them as equals, using the very power of creation to do so. The young god's response was automatic, tinged with divine authority. I am Zenthar, scion of the elder gods. You dare to harvest the essence of the ancients. The reply came swiftly, transmitted through their own divine wavelengths. Welcome, Zenthar. We've been expecting one of you to notice eventually. Would you be interested in discussing this situation diplomatically? We have much to share about our discoveries. Zenthar's form rippled with disbelief. These humans weren't just stealing power. They understood it. They had mastered it enough to communicate on divine frequencies, to detect and analyze a god's presence, and most disturbingly, to expect their arrival. The council must know of this, Zenthar thought, preparing to retreat to the divine realm. But before they could depart, the human transmission continued. Before you alert your council, you might want to know that we've discovered something in the Ancient One's dreams, something about the true nature of gods and mortals, something your council has kept hidden even from their own kind. Zenthar hesitated. The humans' words carried weight, not just because of their audacity, but because they rang with the resonance of truth. The young god found themselves faced with a choice: retreat to the council with their discovery, or stay and learn what these remarkable mortals had uncovered about the fundamental nature of existence. In that moment of hesitation, Zenthar realized why the elder gods had always kept their distance from Earth. It wasn't to protect humanity from divine power. It was to protect themselves from humanity's potential. These beings had done what no other species had ever accomplished. They had reverse-engineered divinity itself. The cosmic void waited in silence as Zenthar made their decision, while below, humanity's impossible machines continued to hum with the power of creation itself. The experiment. The council chamber of elder gods erupted in chaos when Zenthar delivered their report. The vast cosmic space, normally a serene void dotted with the consciousness of ancient beings, now roiled with divine outrage, and though none would admit it, fear. These primitives dare to tap into the dreams of the ancients, thundered Morketh, eldest of the council, their form a writhing mass of dark energy and stellar fire. They must be obliterated immediately. But Zenthar, still processing what they had learned from humanity's transmission, raised their voice. There's more. They claim to have discovered something about our own nature, something we ourselves don't know. A heavy silence fell across the chamber. Lysandra, the keeper of divine knowledge, shifted their constellation-like form uneasily. What could mortals possibly know that we do not? But there was an undertone of uncertainty in their voice that Zenthar had never heard before. I propose an experiment, came a quiet voice. All turned to face Nyxus, the weaver of fates. Let us send one among us to observe them directly, not as a god, but in a form they cannot detect. The chamber erupted again, but this time with incredulous discussion. Gods did not lower themselves to mortal disguise. It was beneath them. Yet as the debate raged, Zenthar noticed something curious. None of the elder gods attempted to simply smite the humans from existence. Were they actually afraid? Finally, Morketh spoke again. Very well. Zenthar, since you made this discovery, you will be our agent. Go among them. Learn their secrets. But know this, at the first sign that they threaten the cosmic order, we will act. And so began Zenthar's transformation. Divine power was reshaped, compressed, and disguised within a mortal form. They chose the identity of Dr. Sarah Chen, a new physicist joining humanity's Ancient Energy Research Initiative, AERI. What Zenthar discovered in their first days at AERI shook their divine understanding to its core. The humans hadn't stumbled upon the Ancient Ones by accident. They had followed a trail of mathematical breadcrumbs hidden in the very fabric of reality. Equations that described not just the physics of the universe, but the nature of divinity itself. Dr. Elena Martinez, the project lead, showed Sarah their latest findings with unconcealed excitement. Look at these patterns, she said, pointing to a holographic display showing energy flows from the Ancient Ones. They're not random. They're recursive, self-referential. It's as if reality is dreaming itself into existence. Zenthar felt a chill run through their mortal form. This was dangerous knowledge, too dangerous for mortals to possess. Yet they couldn't deny the elegance of humanity's discoveries. Where gods had simply accepted their nature, humans had questioned, explored, and understood. But the true shock came when Elena led them to AERI's central chamber. There, suspended in a field of modified ancient energy, floated a small crystal that pulsed with familiar power. We call it a god seed, Elena explained. Using the patterns we discovered, we can create concentrated points of divine potential. Technically speaking, we can create new gods. Zenthar's mortal disguise almost slipped in that moment of shock. Humans hadn't just learned to harvest divine energy. They had deciphered the very process of divine creation itself. The implications were staggering. No wonder the elder gods had always kept their distance from Earth. As Elena continued her explanation, Zenthar noticed something else. Subtle markings on the walls, complex geometric patterns that their divine senses recognized as monitoring systems. The humans hadn't been fooled by their disguise at all. They had known exactly what Zenthar was from the moment they arrived. Would you like to tell us who you really are now, Dr. Chen? Elena asked quietly, her eyes knowing. We have so much to discuss about the future relationship between humanity and the divine. In that moment, Zenthar realized the experiment had been reversed. They weren't here to study humanity. Humanity had arranged this entire situation to study them. And somehow, impossibly, these brief-lived, fragile beings had managed to take control of the situation before it even began. The God seed pulsed gently in its containment field, a testimony to humanity's achievement and a warning to the divine. The age of gods simply ruling through power was ending. A new era was about to begin, one where mortals and immortals would have to find a way to coexist as equals. And Zentvar, youngest of the elder gods, found themselves wondering if perhaps this was what the Ancient Ones had intended all along. The resistance. The Elder Gods' Council made their move at dawn. Across Earth's orbital network, divine energy surged as the gods attempted to sever humanity's connection to the Ancient One's power. It should have been simple, like gods closing a tap. Instead, they encountered something unprecedented: resistance. Dr. Elena Martinez stood in ARI's control center, watching as golden streams of data flowed across holographic displays. "They're trying to cut us off," she announced to her team, but her voice held no fear. "Initiate Protocol Prometheus." Zentvar, still in their human form, watched in astonishment as humanity's orbital stations reconfigured themselves. The crystalline structures that had seemed so delicate now pulsed with an inner light that matched the Elder God's power. But it wasn't just matching it. It was redirecting it. "You see," Elena explained, noting Zenthar's expression, "we knew this would happen eventually. The gods would never accept equals. So we built our network not just to harvest energy, but to use any attack against us as a power source itself." Across the solar system, the Elder Gods found their attempt to crush humanity transformed into a cascade of energy that only made Earth's defenses stronger. Each surge of divine power was caught, channeled, and repurposed by humanity's impossible technology. Morketh's voice thundered across dimensions. "This defiance cannot stand. We are the Elder Gods." Elena smiled and pressed a button on her console. The god seed they had shown Zentvar earlier began to pulse in sequence with dozens of others, scattered throughout the orbital network. Each one sang with new divine power, power born from the fusion of human innovation and cosmic energy. "No," she replied. Her voice carried on waves of modified divine energy. "You are simply those who came before. And like all who came before, you must learn to accept change." The new god seeds began to resonate with each other, creating a harmonic pattern that rippled through space-time. It was a sound that should not have existed. The song of artificial divinity, created by human hands, but powered by understanding that went beyond mere technology. Zentvar felt it in their divine essence. These weren't just containers of power. Humanity had created something new. A hybrid form of divinity that combined the raw cosmic force of the gods with the adaptability and innovation of human consciousness. "We don't want war," Elena continued, addressing all the Elder Gods now. "We want partnership. Look around you. Look properly, with divine sight. What do you see?" And as the Elder Gods turned their cosmic awareness to Earth, they finally understood what they had missed. Humanity hadn't just built machines to harvest divine power. They had transformed their entire civilization into something new. Every human on Earth now carried a spark of divine energy, integrated so subtly that even the gods hadn't noticed. "You can't cut us off from cosmic power," Elena explained, "because we've become part of the system. We're not just using the energy of the Ancient Ones. We're participating in the dream that creates reality itself." The implications hit Zentvar like a supernova. Humanity hadn't simply stolen divine power. They had evolved to become part of the cosmic fabric of existence. They had done what no species had ever conceived possible. They had bootstrapped themselves into a form of collective divinity. In the void between worlds, the Elder Gods' attack faltered. Their options were dissolving. They could not simply destroy humanity without risking the very structure of reality that they were sworn to protect. These clever mortals had woven themselves into the cosmic tapestry so thoroughly that they had become essential to its continuation. Elena turned to Zentvar, her eyes reflecting the same golden light as the god seeds. "Now," she said, "shall we discuss that truth we discovered in the Ancient One's dreams? The truth about why gods and humans were created in the first place." And Zentvar, watching as humanity's divine defense network continued to pulse with transformed power, realized that the greatest fear of the elder gods had come true. They were no longer the most powerful beings in existence. They weren't even the most interesting. The resistance had succeeded beyond anyone's imagination. Now came the hard part, learning to share divinity with beings who had earned it through ingenuity rather than inheritance. The negotiation. For the first time in cosmic history, the elder gods sat at a conference table, not in their usual realm of pure energy and thought, but in a specially designed chamber within Ares' headquarters. The room represented a compromise, half physical, half divine, where gods and humans could meet as equals. Morkath's barely contained form shimmered with barely suppressed indignation. Even compressed into a semi-physical state, their presence made the air crackle with potential energy. Across the table, Elena Martinez sat calmly, surrounded by her team of scientists and a collection of softly humming god seeds. "You claim to have discovered something in the Ancient One's dreams," Morkath began, their voice causing subtle ripples in reality. "Speak then, mortals. What could you possibly have found that we don't already know?" Elena nodded to one of her colleagues, who activated a holographic display. But this wasn't ordinary holography. It was a visualization powered by divine energy, showing patterns that existed in dimensions beyond normal spacetime. "We found this encoded in the energy patterns of the Ancient Ones," Elena explained. "It's not just random cosmic noise. It's a message, a blueprint, and more importantly, it's a story. The story of why everything was created in the first place." The patterns shifted, showing complex mathematical structures that were simultaneously equations and narratives. Zentvar, still in their human form, but now openly acknowledged as a divine being, leaned forward with growing interest. "The Ancient Ones," Elena continued, "didn't create gods and humans as separate species. We're part of the same experiment. They created gods to be the gardeners of reality, beings of pure power who could maintain the cosmos. But they created humans to be the innovators, the ones who would push the boundaries of what's possible." Lysandra, the keeper of divine knowledge, stirred uneasily. "This is absurd. Humans are mortal, limited, intentionally limited," Elena interrupted. "Given constraints, so we would have to overcome them. Given mortality, so we would have to make every moment count. Given weakness, so we would have to become strong. The Ancient Ones designed us to evolve, to adapt, to transcend our limitations. They designed us to eventually reach this very moment." The holographic display shifted again, showing the god seeds humanity had created. But now, with divine senses fully engaged, the elder gods could see what they truly were, not just containers of power, but seeds of possibility, each one containing the potential for new forms of existence that even the Ancient Ones hadn't imagined. "We're not trying to replace you," Elena said, her voice softening. "We're trying to fulfill our purpose, just as you have fulfilled yours. The Ancient Ones didn't want stasis. They wanted growth. They wanted their creation to exceed their expectations." Morkath's form flickered with uncertainty. "And what proof do you have of these claims?" Elena smiled and pressed a single button on the table. The entire room transformed, becoming a window into the dreams of the Ancient Ones themselves. And there, written in the very fabric of reality, was the confirmation of everything humanity had discovered. The elder gods saw it then, the pattern, the plan, the purpose. They saw how humanity's drive to understand, to explore, to overcome had been deliberately designed as a complement to their own divine power. They saw how this moment of confrontation and collaboration had been anticipated billions of years ago. "So," Elena said into the profound silence that followed, "shall we discuss how gods and humans can work together to take the next step in cosmic evolution?" The Ancient Ones left us more than just a message. They left us a roadmap to possibilities that neither of our species could achieve alone. Zenthar was the first to speak. The humans are right. I've seen their work firsthand. They haven't just stolen divine power. They've understood it in ways we never try to. They haven't just copied the Ancient Ones' creations. They've innovated upon them. The chamber hummed with tension as the Elder Gods confronted a reality they had never imagined, a future where they would have to share their cosmic authority with beings they had once considered insignificant. But as they studied the patterns in the Ancient Ones' dreams, a new emotion began to emerge: curiosity. "What exactly?" Morketh asked finally, their voice carrying a note of reluctant interest. "Are you proposing?" Elena's eyes lit up with the same golden energy that pulsed through the god seeds. "Let us show you what humanity and divinity can achieve together." The Ancient Ones created reality, but they left it to us to decide what reality could become. The New Order. A century after the first negotiations between humans and Elder Gods, the solar system had become unrecognizable. Earth's orbital network had expanded into a vast lattice of crystalline structures that pulsed with both divine and human-engineered energy. But more remarkable than the physical changes were the metaphysical ones. In what had once been the asteroid belt, a new form of existence was taking shape. Neither purely divine nor purely human, it represented the first successful fusion of both species' potential. The gods called it the Nexus. Humans called it the future. Elena Martinez, her consciousness now existing in both physical and divine forms, stood before a gathering of hybrid beings. Humans who had chosen to merge with divine energy, and gods who had chosen to embrace mortal perspectives. She had become a bridge between worlds, living proof that the Ancient One's plan was working. "The experiment continues to exceed expectations," she announced, her voice carrying across multiple planes of existence. "The new god seeds have begun producing novel forms of reality, things that even the Ancient Ones didn't predict." Behind her, impossible geometries bloomed in space, each one representing a new possibility for existence itself. The Elder Gods, who had once viewed change with suspicion, now watched with fascination as human innovation combined with divine power to reshape the cosmos. Zenthar, who had chosen to maintain both their divine essence and their human form as Dr. Sarah Chen, worked alongside teams of human scientists and young gods in what they called the creation labs. Here, the boundaries between science and divinity had completely dissolved. "We've discovered something remarkable in the latest god seed variations," Zenthar reported to the gathered assembly. "They're not just creating new forms of energy or matter. They're creating new forms of consciousness. The next stage of evolution is beginning." Morketh, who had become one of the strongest advocates for human-divine cooperation, manifested next to Elena. Their once overwhelming presence had refined into something more focused, more precise. "The Ancient Ones would be pleased," they said. "Their children have not only learned to work together, but have begun to create things they themselves never imagined." But not everything was perfect. Some Elder Gods had chosen to retreat to the far reaches of space, uncomfortable with the rapid pace of change. Some humans remained suspicious of divine power, preferring to live purely mortal lives. Both choices were respected. Diversity, they had learned, was essential for continued growth. The greatest change was philosophical. The Elder Gods had learned humility, discovering that their power alone wasn't enough to fulfill the Ancient One's vision. Humans had learned patience, understanding that their drive to advance had to be tempered with wisdom. Together, they had found a balance that neither side could have achieved alone. In the heart of the Nexus, a new god seed pulsed with unprecedented potential. Unlike its predecessors, this one had been created through true collaboration. Divine power guided by human insight, human innovation empowered by divine understanding. As it began to unfold, both species watched in wonder as it gave birth to something entirely new. "This," Elena announced, her voice filled with joy and awe, "is what the Ancient Ones dreamed of. Not just the preservation of what they created, but the birth of things they never imagined. The seed bloomed, and with it reality itself expanded. New dimensions unfurled, new forms of life sparked into existence, new possibilities emerged. It was neither a human achievement nor a divine one. It was both, and in being both, it was something more. In the spaces between dimensions, the dreams of the Ancient Ones shifted. Their cosmic experiment had succeeded beyond their expectations. Their children, both human and divine, had not only learned to coexist, but had discovered how to create together. The elder gods had learned to evolve, and humanity had learned to touch the infinite without losing their unique spark of innovation. As the new creation unfolded, Olinda turned to address the assembled beings one final time. "We are no longer just the children of the Ancient Ones," she said. "We have become something they could only dream of, creators in our own right, working together to expand the very definition of what's possible." And in that moment, throughout the cosmos, both gods and humans understood a fundamental truth. The greatest power in existence wasn't divinity or innovation alone, but the willingness to grow, to change, and to discover what they could become together. The Ancient Ones' experiment was complete, but the real story was just beginning.